policies, okay? And particularly this section because, as mentioned last time, next Thursday, I happen to have a lot of things going on, so I will make some changes to the exam schedule. So wait, let me do that. Yeah. And I think I mentioned it, did I? Oh wait, I forgot. Did I say to make it available? Wait, midnight till Friday or Wednesday till Thursday? I think it was till Friday. Let me double check. Yeah, I sent it till Friday. Yeah. So this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go over this again, but on next Thursday, during as I will be in and out. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make the exam available starting at midnight, all day Thursday until 5 p.m. Friday. So that will, and then I'll give you 2 extra attempts for a total of 5. So if you have, so you can start anytime. You don't have to necessarily connect at the time of the class, because I only gonna be available for a little bit. So the idea is, if you try and you get some technical difficulties or questions, you can, you have time, because I will not necessarily be there. But I'm gonna respond to your emails, but I may not, that afternoon I will not be available the whole time. So to make it up to you, I'm giving you more time, more attempts, so that any problem, question, technical issues. If there's a technical problem from Blackboard, we always have that during finals. There's not much I can do other than extend the time. But if there's any questions that you may have or an error, you can always email me and I'll check it out. Okay. So exam will be available on the 16th, starting at midnight till Friday, the 17th at 5 p.m. You're going to have up to 5 attempts total. Okay. So keep that in mind. So we will not necessarily meet next time. I'll connect in and out briefly, but if you don't see me online, then you always can reach out via email. Is that clear? Hopefully I'll go over it again. I see most of you connected, but I just want to make it crystal clear what will happen with the final, because I know it's a stressful time. I don't want to put extra stress, and I guess that's a good thing about online tools, that you can easily configure it to this kind of scenarios. Okay. So today's lecture, we're only going to have the slides and the material. We're not going to have a new lab on it. Last lab was assigned last week, is due tonight. So lab 10 is the last one of the semester. So now let's go to the slides that we have, because this will be, you're going to have questions in the exam of this material. So, and the last 2 chapters, 14, 17, and 18, I should say. It's week 14. Okay, the first thing we're gonna study is searching for files. And search is one of those problems that never ends. There's a reason why Google is so big, and Microsoft tried with Bing, and now you have DuckDuckGo, and you have a few other search engines. And even Meta or Facebook, right? They're trying now to use AI because their search capabilities has always been terrible. Have you ever tried to find something on Facebook, even the marketplace or whatever? It's a mess, a big mess. Now they're trying to use AI to make it better, because they don't want to make a deal with Google. Okay, they're afraid of Google getting into their data and so on and so forth. So these big guys are always fighting each other. But you get what's the idea? So searching for files. So locate is a command that allows you to find the files with a given substring. So I'm going to use here the shell to show you how some of these commands work. So for example, if you have locate and then you're looking for bin zip, as the example given, this will tell you all the different files that have that string. As you can see, bin zip, bin zip, so on and so forth. Okay, so it's equivalent to, well, you can also do locate zip and then grab bin. That will have similar effect, with the exception that this will look for everything that have zip, and then it will highlight the ones that contain bin. Okay, you can see there. Okay, well, here it will match exactly this string. So if you want this string or the other, then this is the trick. If you want exactly this string, I should say, then you use this command as like that. Now, find is a command that allows you to search a given directory for files using different attributes. It usually comes with attributes, so yeah, I guess you can use it by itself, but there's nothing much interesting there. It will just show you all the files. But if you use attributes like type, then you can start filtering. For example, we're gonna do we have an example in the next one. So this basically tells you the different types of files you can search for. We're gonna focus on the last three: D for a directory, F for a regular file, and L for a link. More especially D and F. Those are the ones we are more interested in. So how do you search for file? Let's say I want to see all the directories. So I'm gonna clear here. You're gonna type the command find -type and D, and that will give you all the directories. But if you want to find all the files, you're gonna change it for an F, and that'll give you all the files in the current directory, in the PWD. Okay. And you can also filter by size. So let's take this last command. I want to see all the files whose size is -size is greater than 1K. So as you can see, there's these different units: B for a block, C for a byte, W for 2 bytes, K for a kilobyte, capital M for megabyte, capital G for gigabyte. So let's use C because bytes, these files are small. So I'm gonna use C for bytes. You probably wonder, but why, Professor, why didn't you use B for bytes and maybe something else for blocks? Well, because long time ago in a galaxy far away, blocks were the main thing, and then they come up with bytes. So the B was used first for 512 byte blocks. And then they started using, well, it was already taken, I guess. So, so as you can see, all the files that are greater than 1 byte, okay, pretty much everything. Okay, but if I put 1 kilobyte, then I'm not gonna get that many, and I don't think I have anything bigger than 1. I don't think I have anything that is 1 megabyte. Okay, okay. And you can also do minus, but minus will work differently. Okay, so here you go. You can also use -name if you have a specific name, and that's how you find files. And here's a list. This is in your book as well. Here's a list of all the tests that are supported with find. Okay, I just mentioned you the more important ones like size, type, so on and so forth. Okay, you can also combine with and, or, and not, or the parentheses. But as you can see, you can also, today, these commands supported like this. But some time ago, you know, if you did find, then you probably need an and to put them together. But now the command find, you can put several filters in the same line. Okay, so I guess that's a good thing. And oops, here we go. Now let's go to the last chapter of the semester. I know some of you may have tears in your eyes because this is the last one. Okay, so archiving and backup. What's going on here? Well, this is something you use quite often, especially in this era of the internet. File compression and decompression is pretty much the default, and many times it happens, you don't even notice it. Okay, but gzip is a command to compress one or more files. Compress means if I have a file that is big, let's say 5 megabytes, then I compress it and I make it 2 megabytes. So I make it smaller so that when I send it over a network or over a medium, you know, it will go faster. And then when you receive it, you can decompress it. Okay, it's like inflating a balloon. You can inflate it, deflate it. If you inflate a balloon, then you have a bigger thing that may fly. But if you don't need the air, then you just deflate it. It's easier. It weighs less. It's smaller, and you can move it around easier. So something like that is the gzip. The gzip command is the original command to compress one or more file. I don't want you to get confused with gzip versus zip. We're gonna see zip in a little bit, and there's a big difference between them. But gzip used to compress one or more files, and then gunzip or gunzip is used to decompress. Okay, so big file you want to smaller, you gzip it. Small file you receive that is compressed, you decompress it with gunzip. Okay. Now, tar command is very important because tar stands for tape archive. In this day and age, when you hear the term tape, you're probably like, tape? Who uses tape anymore? Well, it's not used like physically. Generally speaking, there's still a few backup servers that may use tape, because tape is very safe. When it comes to, tapes can survive like floodings. They can survive, let's say, electromagnetic attack, things like that. Or I don't want to say attack, but electromagnetic shock and crazy stuff like that. The tape can survive it, while the other types of memory may not, and probably not. Especially flash memory and things like that, it will be gone while the tape will still be there. You might, I don't know, maybe you have seen videos, or maybe your grandparents, they may have still some tapes around the house. And one thing about, because, I'm old enough, I guess I'm getting older. I'm old enough to remember when I was a kid, we used to have tapes and around the house, VHS or cassettes for music. And good thing about a tape is, bad thing is it's really slow, and you have to literally rewind the whole thing if you want to listen to the song again. It's not instantaneous. But if, for example, if for some reason it broke, the tape broke, you could easily change it to another, say the cassette, you can easily change it to another unit. And if the actual tape broke, you could put some tape, actually, like regular tape, and maybe it will, for like a second or two, it will sound funny. Or if it was a movie, it will look funny, like, but it will last only 1-2 seconds. But 99+9% of the tape was still useful. That's something you do not have in certain memories. If 1 byte becomes corrupted, the whole thing falls apart. And that's the problem with other types of memory. Okay, maybe the probability of an error is really small, but when it happens, it could be a disaster. With tape, you don't have that problem. So still, we don't use tape these days. It's too slow and too whatever. You may find it in some backup servers because of how the fact that it can survive. Many banks still use tape in their as a very last backup. Okay. And that's why you probably have noticed that banking apps at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. they do not work, and they tell you this service is unavailable. Many times it's because they're doing the tape backups at that time, and with tape you cannot have transactions, otherwise the whole thing messed up. So anyway, that's a little background. That tape is still used. It's just not used on a daily basis or as a regular as it used to be. But there's still some commands that use the tape. A lot of the ways we store files today, we still use the tape techniques, if you want to call it some way. And one of those commands is tar. The thing is, tar stands for tape archive. So basically, every time you have a file that contains multiple files, that is known as a tape archive. Okay, and we do that all the time. You just didn't know it was a tape archive, because that's the way that tapes work. They take a bunch of files and put it into a single unit. That's basically what a tape archive means. So if you have multiple files and you want them as a single unit, then you have to tape archive it. Okay, and that command is tar. Okay, and once you have it, keep in mind, this is different from zip. Zip is compressing, while tar is basically put several files together as a single unit, okay? And here you have an example. tar-cf is creating the archive, and F means regular files. This is the name you want to give, and these are the files that you want, in this case, just one. And what happens is, how things used to be done is you tape archive it, and then you zip it. You gun zip it. You gzip it, sorry. So you tar it, and then you zip it. And when you receive it, you gun zip it, and then you untar it. Okay. So a lot of, if you find different Linux tools, you're going to see that they still do it this way. But come 2024, and if I'll say the 90s, some developers say, hey, we're doing this tar business and gzip business. Let's make a command that do both of them. And that's what we know as zip. Zip is a command that do both. It does the compression and does the archiving. Most of us know what zip means. Most of you maybe were not aware of gzip. Basically, gzip only does the compression, and tape archive, or tar, only does the the archiving. But zip does both. Simultaneously, you can select multiple files, and you put them together as a single unit, and also you compress it. That's what zip means. And unzip is to decompress and also to separate. When you unzip, what happens is, first, you get the original files, and if it was an archive, then you get the separate files, the files separated as well. Okay. So, and that's how this works. Any questions about the material, concerns? Okay, if not, then today we do not have a lab. So if you have any questions about lab 10 assigned in week 13, this lab is relatively simple because, in the past, I try to make like a script, whatever, but as time passed, Microsoft and Apple, they restrict so much the networking commands that it's a nightmare to make a lab out of networking. So that's why I am only requesting 2 screenshots that you try. Even if the command failed, let's say some of you, especially with Mac, I believe ping is not enabled. So if it fails, it's okay. Just take a screenshot that you try, okay? And that's all you need. wget should work for all of you, hopefully, okay? But if it's not, let me know. Send me an email with a screenshot that it's not working, so I can update these labs accordingly. But I believe wget is still available in every platform, but the ping may not, okay? So just say those 2 screenshots. That's the lab. It's an easy lab. I want everybody to get perfect if possible. So now for next week, we have let me go to announcements. We have our final exam. What should you expect? Okay, what you should expect is about half of the material to be from week 11 through week 14. So 50% roughly will be these last 4 weeks, including today's material with gzip, gunzip, all that stuff. Now, about 25% will be from this chunk from week 6 to week 9, and the other 25 from the beginning of the semester, week 1 through week 4. So with 50, 25, 25% respectively. Now, one thing one offer I'm giving you is that if your final exam score is higher than exam 1 or exam 2, then you're gonna get that percentage credited. So I'm gonna put an example so I don't mess it up. So let's say that in the first exam you got 77, the second exam 82, well, let's say 80, 88, and in the final you get 84. Okay, so these are your original. So you're gonna end up the semester with 84, 88, and 84, because then the final exam will replace the lowest. Okay, the only time you will not see any credit is if your final is the lowest of the 3. Okay, but if it's higher than any of the 2, then you get that credited. And that is because we're gonna go again over this material, and we've been doing this for a whole semester. So more likely than not, you are an expert now. You understand it better. Okay, you answer any questions during the semester, so you may perform better now this time around when faced with similar questions. Okay, now when it comes to the exam, it will be available starting at midnight on Thursday next week. So you can start anytime, and you have till Friday at 5 p.m. I'm making this exception because I'm not gonna be available next Thursday afternoon after 3-ish. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can start anytime during the day. You're gonna have up to 5 attempts. I'm making also 2 extra attempts, so you can try. So but still, if you face any technical difficulty, just let me know via email preferably, or when I connect around 2:30. Okay, but I'm only gonna be available briefly. So the best way to reach out is via email next week. But I have finals all the week, so I'm gonna be around. It's just that particular afternoon I'll be, have a bunch of stuff going on. So any questions about any of these policies? Well, before I forgot, lab 10 is due tonight. I'm gonna be dropping also the last lab, but all these changes will happen after I have all the exam, all the scores in. I don't make any adjustments until then, and basically when you see all your scores the first time, that's the worst case scenario. Whatever adjustments I make, it will only make your grade higher. Okay, so no questions?
Professor,
Yeah.
is there any way we can make up the labs if we miss some of them?
Not really. The only time I ask for labs is after I have all the grades. Let's say, in extreme cases, let's say you end up with 57%. That's an F, but you're so close to a D, then yeah, I may request a lab. But after I do all the adjustments, especially keep in mind the final exam weights 30%, usually that's not needed. So, and if you miss a lab, missing a lab may, because I dropped one as well, it usually doesn't affect your letter grade, especially if you're in the C and D range. If you get a C or a D, the range is so big that usually a lab or 2, even 3 labs, doesn't make a difference in the letter grade. Okay, but if you have, let's say, 89%, you're almost there for, you have a B+, you're almost there for the A-. So one lab may make a difference, but with the other adjustments, usually you get there. So yeah, that's basically how I work. I don't do extra work, extra credit, or anything. I rather adjust the scores that you already have than giving you more work, because more work is also more grading for me. And also, if you get an extra credit assignment, you may not get full credit anyways. So it's better to just drop a lab, and that way you get full credit for it. Okay, so unless you're almost failing the class, you should not worry about one lab that you may miss. Just probably with the other adjustments, you'll be just fine. Okay, any other questions you may have? Okay, if no questions, you can always reach out later.